The following are actual lines of dialogue featured in the movie. What do we tell them? Tell them a priest sold him off a demonically possessed woman after she stabbed him in the chest. Or, just make something up. You don't want to anger the Vatican, do you? No, we wouldn't want to do that. And later on, what's in me? A new Jesus. What? A better Jesus. Yeah, well, you know what I'm going to do to counter that? I'm going to get me a better Jesus with blackjack and hookers. In fact, forget the Jesus. The Devil Conspiracy was directed by Nathan Frankowski. I'm watching you, Frankowski. Always watching. He did a movie called To Write Love on Her Arms. This is a stark contrast from writing love on anyone's arms. This was written, if you want to call it that, by a man named Ed Allen. I'm going to call him Ed Allen Wake because honestly the dialogue in this was about as good as the dialogue written for the video game Alan Wake. This is his feature credit. As far as I'm concerned, this should be his only credit. The Devil Conspiracy, if you have not heard of this movie, by the way, literally just got shoved out into theaters. This got a theatrical release. Despite the fact that if you take a look at the special effects, you take a look at the plot, you take a look at everything involved, every bit, an amalgamation of so many bad things from various other movies, like Gods of Egypt, D-War, Dragon War. Remember that movie? I'm sorry if you do. That came out in 2007. Looked like it came out in 1987. Legion. That movie that had Paul Bettany in it. Battlefield Earth. Yes, really. There are elements of Battlefield Earth in this and 2005's Doom. Doom. The Devil Conspiracy, by the way, involves the Shroud of Turin being stolen from a museum by a cabal of Satanist cultists because they want to use the DNA to clone, to basically, have a Jesus embryo to put in a woman so they can bring Satan back to Earth. No, really, that is the actual plot. At least that's the best I can summarize the plot because this movie is overly simplified yet completely incomprehensible. I got sent this trailer by a particular friend of mine in Texas. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm holding you and others personally responsible for me watching this. Actually, in all seriousness, I decided to just give this a chance because it's rare that I don't, find myself assaulted by trailers and unable to avoid trailers. And you really had to seek this shit out. I got sent this and was like, okay, this looks really, really, really apocalyptically bad. But let me give it a shot. That is the plot, by the way. That is the goddamn plot. And I'm not even kidding when, those 5 movies that I mentioned, especially Gods of Egypt. This has acting as bad as Gods of Egypt, but at least Gods of Egypt had a bunch of money pumped into it. This literally looked like they took a fraction of God of Egypt's budget, easy for me to say, and basically just said, we're going to make it as epic as possible. We're also going to make it completely ridiculous. And we're also going to have people that not a lot of fans have heard of. I mean, there are actors that you will recognize. There's Alice or Ewing. Who? I genuinely don't know who she is. There's Joe Doyle. I have heard the name, by the way. Joe Doyle plays Evelyn Hall, who plays I believe she plays the cultist. There are so many characters that don't mean anything in this, and so many people, they mention their names once, or barely, or don't mention them at all, and you just have to assume that we know what the hell's going on with this. There's Peter Mensa and Joe Anderson. Anderson, that's me. Anybody that gets that, I love you guys. You're a diehard MST3K fan. So yeah, The Devil Conspiracy. That's the plot. And those little bits in the very beginning, those are actual lines of dialogue that Ed Allen got paid to write, or possibly his family got held hostage, and he was forced to write the most banal, ridiculous dialogue possible. This movie has the stench of, well, not just grisly death, but also studio interference. It's like they just said, okay, we're going to cut this all together. We're going to add more violence. We're going to add ridiculousness. We're going to write characters out and put them the hell over here, and then we're going to focus on these bland characters. Then we're going to introduce other characters and then immediately kill them off or write them off or just have them disappear. Just go off somewhere else. You're not wanted anymore. It was filmed in the Czech Republic and also Turin, Italy, which I imagine is probably where the Shroud of Turin is. I know, how shocking. And by Christ, you can definitely tell this is a foreign production because it seemed like everybody took film school, training from, well, basically YouTube videos where, I don't know, they just saw what, people shot while they were waiting in theaters. Like, hey, we'll shoot this movie, record this movie, and put it online. And, look at this great camera work. We're just going to keep the camera work still. And then, we're going to jut it around because we have to avoid the employee coming to see us and everything. Let's just put it all around, do all this and everything. And then also, let's just have every... Jesus Christ, God damn it, this movie. Help. Help me, Spock, help me. I know this review is just kind of all over the goddamn place, but I can't even begin to encompass just how god fucking awful this movie is. It opens with like this thing of like, the first person to tempt us was Lucifer. And it's this big old grandiose opening. And it happened before, it will happen again. It's like Charlton Heston at the beginning of Armageddon and everything. God forbid. Boy, that movie certainly has aged like milk. But the idea is yes, it is. There's a woman, Alice or Ewing, playing Laura, and she basically is chosen because she's a scholar and also she's the perfect host for this satanic spawn that's going to get into the embryo of Jesus's DNA that's in her body that is in this lab after they steal the Shroud of Turin. Pretty easily, by the way. And the priest ends up getting... By the way, I'm just going to spoil a lot of this because you're not going to miss out on anything here, and I don't even think I can encompass the plot properly if I even tried beyond that surface amount, because people literally will just be in one scene. And then an example, like there's this priest that Archangel Michael takes over. That's referenced in the opening line. And basically what ends up happening is he has this weird blue veiny stuff. It's a blue veiny priest. Have fun unseeing that, folks. And he has to go on the hunt to save everybody. And basically the Archangel Michael has to stop Lucifer from rising up. By the way, hell really looks like the planet. I forget the name of the planet from Battlefield Earth, but it really looks like that. The thing is, Battlefield Earth came out in 2000. Now, the special effects look like shit. This came out in 2023. Now, this movie could have been filmed 18 years ago for all I goddamn know. It just sat on the shelf. But this just... It has this feel like, hey, we're going to... Director, writer, we want you to collaborate and make something, and we'll pay you money... And maybe this will launch your career, or it could be like, remember Mortal Engines? Remember that movie? Remember Mortal Engines? How it basically just threw people right into a goddamn plot that it seems like we should have known these characters already. It's like we got dropped right in the middle of a movie or in the middle of a trilogy. That's what this feels like. It just feels like, okay, we have to assume this stuff about these characters. The dialogue is horribly dubbed in. I think that originally people did their dialogue in their native language and they just dubbed the English over, which is fine. I don't really care, except it was very, very jarring. It sounded like some of the dialogue was being recorded all the way over here. And then we came back to the characters over here. And then we're over here, we're down here. Sorry, we're in hell recording our dialogue because that's where they put us, because we didn't want to promote the fact we were in the devil conspiracy. Yeah. Simplified plot, simplified plot, whatever. It just, God. Oh. God, we're not even 2 weeks into the goddamn year, and I may have found a top 5 contender for worst of the year already. In fact, if this isn't in the top 5 by the time we get to the end of this year, goodness me, this is going to be a rough year, because already it's not necessarily the best year for movies. This is really, really apocalyptically bad. It's hilarious. I was having to stifle my laughter. Like, what is this? How in the world did they go with these takes thinking, if these are the takes they went with, what were the busted takes like? Oh, we'll just fix it in post. We'll fix it in post. Keep rolling, doing your stuff and everything. This one woman's freaking out seemingly in a whole different scene. Let's just include her. It's totally fine. Hey, we have the Archangel Michael, and he's here, and then let's write him out for 40 minutes, and let's focus on Laura and focus on this really, really bad cultist stuff. And let's just keep focusing on all these characters and dragging this plot. It is an hour and 51 minutes. An hour and 51 minutes of torturous, skin-peelingly awful filmmaking. Ed Allen needs to be brought up on criminal charges unless he was actually forced at gunpoint to make this. And the studio heads and everybody that came together, this deserved to be publicly flogged, like Casper Van Dien and Starship Troopers, except he had a reason why he did what he did. There was no reason for this movie to goddamn exist. The special effects wouldn't even have passed for 1997. The Relic had better special effects, and that's saying something. The Invitation that I reviewed last year that had special effects from 2002 had better special effects than this. And they would just have people do this stuff. There's people, there's so many characters and so many questions that I have watching this. I don't even know where to begin. I don't know where the hell to begin. It's so bad. And apocalyptically terrible and catastrophically awful in everything that I can't even come up with the words. I can't come up with the words of how bad the Devil Conspiracy is. This is just so bad. Everybody involved in this deserves to be, well, the actors probably deserve to go do something else. You know what? Let's be fair to Nathan Frankowski. Watching you, Frankowski. Let's put him on a better project with less studio interference and let's see what happens. Let's see if Ed Allen Wake can actually write something that doesn't seem like he sustained several major head injuries writing each word. And that's the thing also. They were having people trying to do English and trying to do dialogue that they clearly were not comfortable doing. They were trying to spout out this incomprehensible yet simplistic plot. Oh, we're going to do this, and then all these plot conveniences suddenly come in, and it's just dragged out. If this was 90 minutes of material, and even then it was stretched out. This could have been 80 minutes. It was like Legion if Legion was directed by a sea cucumber. I'm being so mean towards people because this just can't. This filmmaking can't get much worse than this. As far as theatrical releases, Prey got put out on Hulu. Turning Red got put out on Disney Plus. So many other movies fail and immediately get put out on streaming, or some movies go directly to goddamn streaming. This got a theatrical release. There were 3 people in the movie that I watched. 3 people, including me. 1 left about halfway through, and I mean, maybe even before that. That's how bad this was. And I do not see this making a dent at the box office. It's so humor. You're going to laugh your goddamn ass off because you can't believe that you're watching something that's so inept. The levels of ineptitude would honestly swallow this movie whole, and hopefully will swallow everybody whole that decided to fund this goddamn thing, because you are spending too much goddamn money and you need to basically be brought up on grand larceny charges for stealing money from people, even if they just use the Regal Pass or the AMC Pass to watch this tripe. Fortunately, it seemed like this movie wasn't hinting at a sequel. Yeah, sorry, spoiler right there. But this, The Devil Conspiracy, the only conspiracy is, I have so many conspiracy theories about how this movie got made. It must have been made on a dare. There is no way that they could have saw the script and said, yeah, that's great, here's $30 million. I don't actually know what the budget for this movie is. I can't imagine that it was more than $30 to $40 million. And for the scope that they had, you would have thought, okay, if we don't have that big of a budget, maybe we'll do something. Oh, we'll just have these people overact. We'll have the stuff that could have easily been remedied by, I don't know, just trimming off 30 minutes of the movie, because we didn't need a whole lot of dialogue going here. We didn't need these unnecessary escape scenes. We didn't need Alice or Ewing acting all ridiculous and acting all like, where she's, I'm so conflicted, being possessed by the spawn of Satan, yet it's Jesus' embryo, and what's going on, the battle of good and evil, it's inside me. No. And then things will just happen and just randomly occur, and everything will just, and then everything gets back to normal, maybe seemingly, kind of, sort of. Things are quickly taken care of. This cabal of Satanist cultists have no idea what they're goddamn doing. Their operation is completely torpedoed by one guy that suddenly turns into a mercenary, can spout quips, and all this weird stuff's happening. Apparently, the Archangel Michael watched 80s and 90s action movies and said, sure, I'll watch that. There's this weird creature that is like straight out of Doom 2005 as far as the imps and everything. Everything about this is just so egregiously offensive. I mean, egregiously awful. This movie is bad. It is explosively, apocalyptically bad. And you know what? If it comes out on streaming, totally watch it. Don't pay for it. Don't pay for it. This movie doesn't deserve to make a goddamn dime at the theater. It doesn't deserve to make a goddamn dime. I know there are people that probably worked hard on this and people that probably meant well, but you know what? This movie didn't mean well. It should have been buried at the bottom of the goddamn well, like that goddamn shirk back there. Bury anybody that thought this was a good idea at the bottom of that goddamn well, along with Samara. Bring Samara up and leave them down there, because that's fitting enough punishment. Why didn't Samara's mom take care of the people that had anything to do with this movie? No, I don't know what I'm on about. Let's get into spoilers. It's in theaters if you really want to watch it, but it will probably be out on streaming soon. But for the love of God, do not pay $20 to watch this unless you're going to get your friends to chip in, and you're going to get the studio to pay you back that $20 for watching this shit. 3, 2, 1. Spoilers. So here's the spoilers. Basically, the Archangel Michael sent Lucifer down and thrust his sword in a stone, and no, King Arthur was not able to do anything about it, and he's trapped there. And he's trapped there for all eternity, and only he can free him. It's this magical sword. And then he goes back up, And then Laura is a scholar. She's studying this statue, this weird statue thing that suddenly has twisty head. They twist its head around like, hey, hi. It has no goddamn neck. Just like this movie has no goddamn spine. Nobody on this set had a goddamn spine to say, hey, this is really shit. We should stop this. So anyway, as she's doing that, suddenly the cultist lady shows up, beheads one guy, takes his head, and uses this eye-checking deal, this one museum curator guy, the eye scan, to get the Shroud of Turin. But then she stabs the father in the chest, the priest. But then the priest gets resurrected. He's like basically saying right when he's about to die, it's Archangel Michael, take me. And then he runs like the T-1000 and chases after people. And then he gets guns and starts going on a hunt to save Laura. And Laura's trapped with a few other women that apparently got taken from this museum thing. And this cabal of cultists have seemingly unlimited funds and are able to do all this crazy medical stuff. They're able to get Jesus' DNA off the Shroud of Turin. They're able to create this embryo, and they had to figure out who it was. Who's the perfect host? Let's put it in Laura, because she's the only main character who's really got any dialogue. There's one other woman that ends up dying a little bit later on. Lucifer, meanwhile, finally gets loosened from his goddamn thing. Lucifer, ha ha ha! And he is trying to get out of hell, unleash his demons, his other demons. There's this weird imp-like demon that is the hell beast that can walk the earth, that swings a chain around, and he swings his chain from side to side. Come on, do the demon Mario all together now. But he ends up just you don't even see him much for a little bit, and then when you finally see him, you know why, because holy shit, this makeup is bad. I'm sorry to anybody that worked on this that actually tried to make it good. You tried. You failed because the studio failed you. Archangel Michael, meanwhile, is going through these catacombs after he talks to this one priest guy and says, hey, I need to get over to this stronghold. I need to get to wherever the stronghold is and take care of, these problems and save Laura and get the Shroud back and everything. And it turns out that this stronghold is literally about 2 miles away. It's 2 miles away from this guy's house. So much so because he feels these explosions later in the movie. No, really, he has this little telescope like, oh shit, the stronghold's right there. Probably could have just let him use my car. Laura, by the way, is spouting quits. The Archangel Michael eventually kills a whole bunch of people. Well, first he subdues them, then he kills them. He has this weird gun that this cardinal guy gives him that says, oh yeah, but this old man gives him that it won't kill him, but it'll slow him down. That hell beast demon thing, I assume. Could have meant the screenwriter for all I care. I mean, honestly, I don't think anybody would have missed him if they'd done that. Kurt Cobain, is dead, and this guy somehow gets work. I'm sorry, that's mean. But Laura then eventually gets impregnated, and then she realizes, hey, wait a second, I've got this warring thing going on with the demon, because she gets this embryo, and then she gets chosen by Lucifer, who sends these weird snake things up. It's like that Dragon D War thing. The special effects people that worked on Dragon D or D War must have had something to do with it. There's no way they couldn't have had something to do with it. But she ends up getting possessed after the other woman was with her died. Then they were clearly on like just some kind of sound stage, because these weird pussy creatures are reaching through and like, no, we're going to hold you and please bow down to our master. So she's possessed. She starts losing her hair. She starts realizing, hey, wait a second. I'm going to listen to the voice of Satan. I'm going to do all this bad stuff, and I'm going to kill, I'm going to kill this evil cultist woman, who, it turns out actually, there's the battle of good and evil. The Satanist creature, or, Satan basically, Lucifer wants to be resurrected, but he poisons her mind, but then she turns the tables on him. It's like if Malignant actually had a little bit more competence to it. And meanwhile, the Archangel Michael goes down to try and find Lucifer. He gets trapped there by some guards. And then there are weird people in hell. Souls in hell, people that are just there. How did they get there? How did they get there? How are they still alive? How are they going to get brought back to Earth? Because that's what the Archangel Michael says. I don't know what the hell's going on. The screenwriter doesn't know what the hell's going on. Nobody knows what the hell's going goddamn on. the character Michael just disappears. The priest just disappears for about 30 to 40 minutes of the goddamn movie, so we can focus on Laura and the silver-haired cultist lady. And then Laura tries drinking bleach, doing all this bad stuff. Like, she tries poisoning herself. And then it turns out that actually good will always conquer evil, and that the embryo of Jesus, this Jesus clone, actually is good, and he can counter the evil. So why the hell was all this stuff happening for the last, 50 minutes? Why was all this stuff happening? Why was Laura losing her hair? Why didn't Jesus stop her from losing her hair so she didn't look like one of the aliens from Alien Nation? Remember Alien Nation? Had better writing than this. Man, that movie is weird. The show is weird. Anyway, enough about Alien Nation. What did this movie have? It had nothing. It had nothing, despite the fact that I managed to get quite a bit of material out of it, because it had nothing positive to offer. It simply just had ridiculousness and bit after bit after bit after bit of bullshit just piled on and piled on. Eventually, Michael gets free to do what he wants any old time. He gets his sword that he had, his sword that he used to trap Lucifer. He says, I'll be back to get you guys, but I have to go up here and I have to battle. So he gets back in the human body, or he's back in the human body, or he's doing something. He battles and crushes and kills. This is after he lost Laura already, by the way, after losing that battle to that weird Doom demon. And then, basically, they oh, Jesus Christ. The cultist lady said, don't worry, Lucifer. What we're going to do is after we resurrect you and bring your army, we're going to close the portal to hell with explosives. What if all the soldiers don't get out, and what if they need to go back home and get some of their stuff? What if they left their belongings back there? They're demons, so I don't think so, but I don't know. Maybe they need something like that to just blow up their home. That's fine. They'll take over Earth. Well, guess what happens? Laura gets sent away with the embryo. By the way, the baby was born during this whole thing. The weird demon imp creature kills a bunch of people and decapitates them. I guess that's where the horror elements of this sci-fi horror movie come in. And then Michael just says, you know what? The priest says, I'm just going to blow up this well. Apparently Hawk's right there. And blew it up. And then that fixed everything. The guy that helped him, the guy about the stronghold, said, oh, there's the stronghold. It's right there. That castle. That's literally the only castle right there. Why didn't you just say where it was? And then the kid grows up. Satan may be inside him, but maybe he's got the war of good and evil. God, they're going to try to do a sequel, aren't they? Devil Conspiracy 2, Electric Lucifer Boogaloo. God, really broke me. Fuck you, Nathan Frankowski. Fuck you, Ed Allen Wake. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you, terrible human beings, put this on film? Anyway, agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. God, I'm John Ritlin. See you soon.